1 minute, but the mics are on.
Thank you.
We're live.
So I notice just in watching the town council ones, like sometimes you can't really understand what the people are saying here because people forget to turn their mics on. So just, especially because you're new here, if you touch this, it turns it off, then you can, you won't be overheard if it's on, it's green. That one, I assume you're going to be talking tonight?
We're not sure if we're supposed to. I mean, we had put in, we're the only, it looks like we're the only thing on this list.
You're the owner, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you decide to come up, just if you can make sure that the green lights, just speak into the mic so that the people can hear you, because we record the sessions.
Sure.
So, okay, thanks. Okay, good evening. We're calling the Board of Adjustment meeting for Monday, September 30th, 2024, 7 p.m. As the start time, it is 7 p.m., so this meeting is called to order. Excuse me. First thing I'm going to do, we have been given a letter that I would like to read into the record. The Board of Adjustments, from Catherine Vexler, V-E-X-L-E-R, to Sheila Morales, dated September 24th at 8:56 in the morning. Board of Adjustment for Town of Copper Canyon in care of Sheila Morales. I have a conflict in schedule that does not allow me to present, but I would like this memo to be forwarded to the Board of Adjustments and read into the record as input in review. This is regarding the variance application for 4501 Mahogany Lane, reduction of rear yard setback along rear property line. In this public meeting, I am speaking for myself as a resident of the community and as a board director on the Architectural Control Committee, of which I am a member. The application for you, before you, is a variance request in the reduction of the rear yard setback from 15 to 2 feet to allow for a shed that was built last year. This section of the rear yard setback is part of a utility easement which runs along the rear yard on all lots located along Jernigan and FM 407. This location for an accessory building is in violation of the town ordinances and our covenants and conditions and restrictions which are registered on title. Allowing this variance would open other homeowners to request a variance and start putting up accessory buildings along property lines, creating a possible eyesore along the stretch of Jernigan, thus taking away from the harmonious and uniform fence line. I understand that sometimes a variance is needed if there is a hardship on the property owner and no other location is available due to the easement or grade in land. There does not appear to be a hardship in this case, and I believe the homeowner has other options in which the shed can be located elsewhere on the site should the town allow a third accessory building on the property. The Architectural Control Committee for the Estates of Copper Canyon did receive an application for the shed after it was built. The application was denied based on location. As it was in direct violation with our covenants, conditions, and restrictions, in which it states that no structure can be built within a 20-foot side yard or 15-foot rear yard setback in addition to the 50-foot front yard. Thank you for your time. Catherine Vexler, 4536 Mahogany Lane, Copper Canyon, Texas. Okay, we will move to public input. So public input is starting at 7:03 p.m. Citizens can make comments to the Board of Adjustment during this section of the meeting agenda. We ask citizens who speak on the agenda items to sign in on the sheet provided at the back table of council chambers. There is a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. Pursuant to state open meetings law, the Board of Adjustment cannot discuss, thank you, or take action on items not posted on the agenda. And I have Tina Burns from, yes, ma'am, 606 Chin Chapel, speaking about accessory buildings. Would you like to come up?
Sure. Would you make sure it's
Ye-
green? Oh, and then pull it down. Oh, that's, is it green?
Yes.
Okay. You've got to talk close.
It's so everybody can hear you up
I used
there.
to sing and I don't like doing it. Don't like doing it. You know, my family has had that property since 1970 or 71. And over the years, initially, there was, my dad and my brother built 2 buildings. One of them's my lawn shed, which is right by the, anyway. And then there was a tool shed. So that's still there, and that's on the other side of the, by the creek. But sometime in between, in the last 20 years, we added some just regular little buildings. There's 3 of them. There's one behind the house, and then there's 2 at the other end of the property. Are those grandfathered in? Or are we gonna have to, are we gonna have a problem with the code enforcement officers y'all are?
So my suggestion would be to contact Sheila during the week because we cannot comment on anything that's not specifically on the agenda. And the only thing we have on the agenda is Mr. Nasser's
Okay,
item, so we can't even provide that input.
okay.
So just contact Sheila during the week and she can coach you through what the rules are on existing buildings and go from there.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay? Thank you. Anyone else due to speak? Okay, Yolette Safa, 45.
His name, I'll find it. Okay.
Sure, okay. 4501 Mahogany Lane, they are the folks that have petitioned for this evening. Now, just so that you're aware, there's public input and then we actually have a public hearing on this specific topic.
Sure.
So did you want to comment in the public input section or is this about your property specifically?
Only on my
On your property?
specific.
My suggestion, unless there's an objection from the group, would be to move it to the hearing section because then there are certain procedures that we have to follow there. Did you have anything else that you wanted to submit?
I think we wanted to comment about Catherine's letter, right? Is that?
Which we can do in the hearing.
Okay,
Oh,
as long
Yeah.
as we can do it on the,
Yes,
in the
sir.
hearing. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Anything else that either of you wanted to speak on, just to be sure? No? Okay, good. Thank you. Anyone else for public input? Okay, we are closing public input at 7 minutes past the hour. We'll now move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 26, 2024?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda, or the minutes from February 26, 2024.
Motion. I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Motion by Gary Coleman to approve the notes, seconded by Paul Dietz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. 3 votes. Did you vote? I did not hear
No,
you.
because I wasn't.
Oh, so you can
Can I?
abstain. You can
Okay,
abstain.
I mean, I was here in the meeting, but I wasn't part of the group, so I approve, yeah. Yes.
Okay. Unanimous vote. Okay. Public hearing. We're going to open the public hearing at this time, and that would be at 7:08 PM. In the public hearing, the Town of Copper Canyon's Board of Adjustment will conduct a public hearing for the purpose of hearing any and all comments regarding, number 1, the request of Nasir Safa, did I pronounce it correctly? Okay. Owner of real property located at 4501 Mahogany Lane, described as Estates of Copper Canyon, Block A, Lot 19, Town of Copper Canyon, Denton County, Texas, for a variance from the Town of Copper Canyon zoning regulations, Exhibit 4A zoning ordinance, Article 4, supplementary provisions, Section 4-104, accessory buildings, F, in parentheses, 8 in parentheses, the request for this variance from the accessory building minimum yard setback The ordinance calls for a 15-foot rear yard setback. The landowner is requesting a 2-foot rear yard setback. So one thing I'd like to explain, if you'd like to speak now, there is it up there, the statement, the truth of?
Oh, no, but I can repeat it.
Okay, so what we do is, because of the Board of Adjustments, part of the procedures, it's like a quasi judicial function. So what we do is we have you take something called a truth oath, and it just says that what you're stating to us and anything that you've submitted to us is true. And it goes in as evidence in the case that can be later heard if they need to. So if you'd like to step up. I think Sheila, because it's not up there, she's going to read it. So if you could just repeat what she has.
That's not my first rodeo, so I've done it before.
Okay. If you'll repeat after me, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
I swear to tell the truth,
The whole
the whole
truth.
truth, and nothing but the truth.
So help me God. Thank you. So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do I need to say also thank you?
Okay, sir, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you for attending tonight. Appreciate your help, and thank you, for looking into it. With all respect to Catherine's, I wouldn't be surprised that she wouldn't even write or be in person, because she's always a vocal voice and advocate to, in my opinion, create problems in the neighborhood. Anyway, with all that, before the shed, there was a doghouse that's been approved by you guys. It was a like 6-foot big doghouse, and it was in structure and everything. All what we did is we removed the doghouse, and we put it's just a regular shed that we buy from Home Depot or Lowe's, and it's removable at any time. We decided to leave it there to put it instead of the doghouse. The dog doesn't want to live in that house anymore, and it's removable. Plus, if I move it throughout the backyard, anywhere I put it, it's going to be an eyesore, or it's going to be in the way of my septic tank sprayers. So that's, in my opinion, that's a hardship. And that's where this is the best spot for it. Plus, we're going to raise 2 feet. Right now the fence is 6 feet, so we're going to raise it to 8 feet, and that's been approved as of 2 days ago by our HOA to raise all our fences to 8 feet, and that won't it won't be even seen from the country road. That's all I have to say, and I'll be glad to answer any questions or any comments.
First question is, when you say you approved it, was it Board of Adjustments, the town? Who's the you?
You guys, when we submitted the plans, that was part of the plans. When we built the house, the whole house.
So there wasn't a variance given at that time. It was some sort of an approval.
Yes, whatever it was.
A building permit.
Yes,
a building.
So it was part of the building permit. And the doghouse was there and existing, and we built the house and we got the CO.
So you're saying on the original home plans there was a doghouse there?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do we have any record of that?
Do you know what that time frame was roughly? What, was it 2 years ago, 10 years ago?
No, 2014.
So almost 9 years ago.
And then what was roughly the size of the doghouse?
It was like 6 by 6 by 6. And we've got pictures to show.
Yeah, the doghouse is pretty big. It's way taller than me. I don't know if I can beat that. Yeah.
So
It
6
didn't
by
have like a
6.
ceiling fan with AC. It was a nice doghouse. Like I would. But,
And it was only 2 feet away. We did 2 feet away from that fence. And then I don't know where the public utility, but then even though the public utility will be, if it's a problem, but then we, if push comes to shove, we can remove it. So it's not a permanent structure by no means.
So what you said was that the former building was 6 by 6 by 6. So I assume 6 feet long, 6 feet wide, 6
And
feet
then
tall.
height, yes.
Okay. On your application, it said it was 6 by 8.
The what?
So it's 6 by 8, not 6 by 6 by 6.
Something like that.
So,
I did,
I
yeah,
just
so
wanna be
roughly,
clear.
yeah, roughly
Okay.
6 by 8, 6 by 6, something like that. I did not take a measurement of it, to be
Okay.
honest with you, but I'm assuming.
So the other, well, I'll get to the questions there, but so I would like to confirm that the application you submitted for the variance, it has 4 conditions that were listed on that application. It would be this application.
And, if you don't mind, I'll show you the picture of the document.
Okay. That was what was there?
Yeah.
Okay.
From the get-go, from the beginning,
Okay.
with a fence. So,
Is there any way to send that to Sheila? Because if it's presented to us, it has to come in as evidence.
yes,
Okay.
We want me to email it to you?
yes.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. Okay, so back to what I was saying earlier, I would like to confirm that on the application you submitted, Sheila, I hate to do this, but can you crank that up a little bit? It's like blowing right down on me. It's freezing. Sorry. Thank you. I would like to confirm that on the application you submitted for a variance request has 4 conditions listed on it. Based on your signature, the application for a variance for the Board of Adjustments understands that you have read the entire document and understand that all 4 conditions must be met, and that furthermore, you need at least 4 votes in the affirmative to receive a variance. Mr. Staff, I know that you have signed that you have understood this, but I'd like to confirm that this is still the case.
Yes.
Okay. So do you have a statement or comment other than what you've just stated that addresses these 4 items? Nothing.
Nothing.
Okay.
I'm just open to your questions or comments, whatever,
Okay. So normally on the application, I know that people are encouraged to give us a written answer to each of these 4 items. Was that discussed with you?
Well, it was, but
It was.
yeah.
But you chose not to
I chose
respond?
not to because I didn't, I don't know what to answer, to be honest with you. I didn't know which way to go.
Okay, so did you ask for any assistance at all?
No, I didn't.
Because what we have to consider, the only way we can grant this variance is if these 4 conditions are satisfied. So if we leave it the way it stands right now, it's pretty open and shut.
I would, I don't know what,
I mean, what I can do is I'm offering to read each one of these, and then if you'd like to comment on it, we can consider it.
okay.
But that's normally what we do is we get this in advance and we could,
Sheila, and by the way, she was very, very helpful,
Okay.
Ms. Sheila, and she explained that to me. But I'm from a Lebanese origin, and there's a big war, so I was very occupied with moving my family from one side to the other, and it's been going on. So I'm sorry, I did not fulfill this obligation.
okay. Okay, and it was submitted, Sheila, is this September 3rd? The application?
Looks like it's not sure.
Yes, that.
September 3rd? Okay,
If that's what it was dated, yes.
okay. So according to the application, again, all 4 of these have to be satisfied. Item A is the first one. It says, for a variance to be granted, the Board of Adjustment, the board must determine that all of the following conditions apply. A, there are special circumstances existing on the property on which the application is made related to the size, shape, area, topography, surrounding conditions, and location that do not generally, that do not apply generally to the property in the same area and the same zoning district. And your response to that would be?
Would you elaborate a little bit more? I did not understand what's the contents. of
Sure, I
it.
can read it again. There are special circumstances existing on the property on which the application is made related to the size, shape, area, topography, surrounding conditions, and location that do not apply generally to other property in the same area and the same zoning district.
Yeah, you mentioned.
I mentioned the location of the septic tanks. So if I remove it anywhere else, it's going to be an eyesore to the property. Whether I move it to the front, the only way to put it is through the back. And then keep in mind, also we have a pool that requires me to keep a distance between the pool and the irrigation system. Or
So
the s-
it's the location of the tanks or the location of the sprayers?
The sprayers, sorry.
The sprayers?
The sprayers,
Okay.
yes. Well, because they have an irrigation sprayers.
Okay. And is that your complete answer
Yes.
for A? Okay. Item B, second item, that a variance is necessary to permit the applicant the same rights in the use of this property that are presently enjoyed under the ordinance by other properties in the vicinity and zone, but which rights are denied to the property on which the application is made.
Other people have shut down on their properties in our neighborhood, in the back of their homes.
Crossing the same line and within 2 feet of the property line? And do you have any examples of that you can submit for evidence?
I can send those pictures also, if I can give you their addresses, if you want to drive out there and see them.
We'd have to have it tonight because we're going to make the
We do,
decision
we
tonight.
do.
I
Okay.
have all that, yeah. I just,
So how many others are you stating?
from what I was able to go to, the two people that I spoke with on their properties, I have two. There are other people, but I did not want to bother them and go to their property and take pictures. I just need
So are you aware that they were granted any kind of a variance from the Board of Adjustments, or
We don't know.
you don't know? Okay.
They were built, or they were there existing before we built the house.
So for the record, when the Board of Adjustment makes a decision on a property, it doesn't necessarily set a precedent because each case is considered individually. So because other properties have it, the question would be, how close is it? How big is it? Is it the exact same thing? Because that's what this is suggesting, that the others have the same rights, but this has been denied from your property. So that would mean that others in your neighborhood also have buildings right up to the 2-foot line.
Well, they denied it, and according to Catherine, they denied it based on the easement and the utility. So have we gotten the variance that they don't have a problem with it?
Well, there's actually 2 items on this. One is the utility easement, separate discussion, and then the other one is the 2-foot. You've applied for the 2-foot variance, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, and her objection called out both of them. Her objection said,
But the
she's-
reason, the reason behind it was because of the utility, and she's going by your bylaws.
Okay, and so just for clarity, when you say they went, you guys went, or whatever, who's the you that you're talking about?
The HOA,
The HOA?
yes.
Okay. So you're saying they've granted it to other properties within your neighborhood?
They have 2, they already have 2 sheds there.
Okay. Do we have those addresses at all? I mean, just, okay.
I'm trying to get it to her, sorry.
Okay, no problem. Item C, that granting the variance on specific property will not adversely affect the land use pattern as outlined by the master land use plan and will not adversely affect other features of the comprehensive master plan of the town of Copper Canyon.
And it doesn't. I mean, if you guys want to do anything else, we just temporarily remove it, and then when you're done, we bring it back.
So the questions I respond to people that provide a similar answer is there any expert that says that it will not violate that? Do you have anyone that would back this up that says it's not going to violate our master plan? Did anyone endorse it, or is it your opinion?
No, because it's a removable shed. It's not a structure.
But specifically what I'm looking for is it has to be somebody that endorses it, that has an ability and authority, some sort of licensing that may say that this does not conflict with our town's master plan. So just to be clear, if you offer it up as your opinion, that's fine. That's okay.
I offer it my opinion,
Okay.
but then I can provide the person who built it. I can provide him to send a professional opinion on.
But so we're making the decision tonight.
Sure.
So whatever we've got in front of us is the only thing we can consider. So if we want to do it again, you can submit another application, but it generally would have to be on something that's changed or what have you. So that's why we want the information ahead of time for what it's worth. Okay. Anything else on item C, the third item? No. Okay. Item D, that the variance, if granted, will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or injure the use, enjoyment, or value of the property in the vicinity.
No, it won't. It won't.
And so my same question, is that an opinion or is there some
It's
expert?
just my opinion again.
Okay. Okay. And continuing on with the questions, I'm sorry, was there anything else on item D, the fourth item? Nothing else? Okay. So Mr. Safa, for the record, can you please confirm the size of your lot at 4501 Mahogany Lane?
I think it's 1.29 of an acre, 1.29.
1.29? Okay. Do you own any lots immediately adjacent to the property?
No.
Your application suggests you're solely looking for a variance on the town setback requirements. Specifically, I believe you're asking to go within 2 feet of the property line, while the ordinance calls for a 15-foot setback. Is this an accurate interpretation of your application?
Yes, and we have the fence, so I don't know how much we did a setback from, I didn't do a survey to see how much we did a setback from the actual road. I'm talking, when I'm saying the 2 feet is 2 feet from the fence, so I don't know how much the
The
fence.
property line, right?
Well, I don't know if that's the property line, so I don't know. If we did the setup for, the setback from the country road, from the country road, if we did even a setback or not, I don't know, because I don't have a survey. So I'm talking about only 2 feet from the fence that already existing.
Okay, so this diagram that you submitted with your application, what is this diagram of?
This is the layout of the backyard and the septic tank sprayers and the pool. That's only the backyard. This is what they submitted to us when they built the septic tank.
Okay, so Jernigan's here, that's the back of the house, there's the pool. So you're saying all of these 4 circles are your sprayer?
The sprayers,
things? Okay.
yes.
The variance, okay, so I don't know if you know our community, Copper Canyon. So where the fence line is, you've also got footage in front of that fence line towards the road, that's part of the variance. So do you understand what I'm saying? So it's not 15 feet from our actual fence line, it's 15 feet from the city's variance, like their line, which is probably more than.
It's the property line, 15 feet.
Right, but when they build the fence, they have to build the fence at a setback also, so that the city has their.
So what would help is if you had submitted a diagram that actually has the legal, what your setbacks are.
When we submitted for our home, our actual home, when we built it, we were approved for the doghouse exactly where the shed is. And it was all approved, and it's in our plans that by you guys, and you have our plans. Like when we submitted in 2014 and got approval in this very building to build our home with the doghouse.
Okay.
It's been approved before. All we did was remove an existing item and put the exact same item, just a different color. We took out the brick and made it wood.
And you have it, if I'm understanding this diagram right, here's Jernigan Road, and here, and then your building is somewhere, let's see.
I think where the green
Oh,
marks,
box
yes,
back over
that's
here.
what it is.
Okay, all right. And have you explored actually moving these sprayer heads?
There's nowhere else we can do it without affecting the setbacks and the distance between pool or the front of the house.
Because we have them on both sides of our lawn in the back, and on both sides of our lawn in the front for our septic tanks.
Okay.
Because we also have a well, and we have to be very careful where we place it. Because we also have a well on our property. And that was the whole problem, is trying to figure out where everything can fit in without them, hitting each other.
Okay. By way of clarifying an issue, and I think we've done this, but I just want to have it on the record. For your application, the variance states, I have removed a brick doghouse 6 foot by 8 foot and would like to install an aftermarket and removable shed 8 foot by 12 feet. Catherine Vexler's letter says the application before you is for a variance request in the reduction of the rear yard setback from 15 feet to 2 feet to allow the shed that was built last year. Your application states that you would like to install, which suggests that it hasn't been built. This is in conflict with Ms. Vexler's letter and suggests that it's already been built. Can you clarify the status of your shed? I think you've stated it's there, right?
The shed was brought in and put in instead of the doghouse. So I don't know what she's talking about. What we're doing is we're removing the doghouse and we're putting the shed. But what else?
Well, it's not an exact replacement, right? Because it's larger.
No, actually, the fence that we put, if you notice on the doghouse, it's like we have a metal fence that we removed too around the doghouse. So this is like 6 by 20 feet around the doghouse.
On your application, you said you are replacing a doghouse 6 feet by 8 feet. So I assume it's 6 feet square and 8 feet tall. And you're replacing it with an 8-foot square by 12 feet tall.
Yes, but that doesn't include the fence, the metal fence that we put to contain the dog.
Okay, well, fences are not the topic right now. It's the actual building. So in fact, it's a larger building.
Yes, it
It's
is.
2 feet larger all the way around.
Yes,
Okay, so it's not an exact replacement.
you can say that, but I'm talking about the whole area that being utilized.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, let's say that you were approved and grandfathered by a 6 by 8 building, because we don't have that yet. I can't verify it. It's not evidence that we're considering. But at the end of the day, a 6 foot by 8 foot, if you replaced it with a 6 foot by 8 foot, we may have to take something else into consideration. But you've replaced it with your application is for an 8 foot by 12 foot, which means you're 2 feet larger on the footprint and 4 feet taller on it. So it's not a like for like. You follow me? So if you get grandfathered in, it's always going to be something like if there's a situation that we had where somebody had a building that was replaced and he was trying to update it because it was weathered and so forth. It was an exact replacement.
And we can do that. We can reduce it by 6 by 8 to whatever, we can reduce it to the same size.
But the fact is that a permit still has to be issued. And right now, I don't have anything in front of me that says that this was blessed when the home was built. I don't have it. I know you're saying that, but I would actually have to say, I'm not saying I don't believe you.
Sure.
I'm just saying that we need something in the record.
Receive our CO. When we got our CO, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that would be on the house. Certificate of occupancies are granted for homes, livable homes. They're not granted for dog sheds, right? So your CO would be given for a home that's livable.
When they came out to our CO, they checked our pool, they checked our stuff, they checked everything on our property.
Yeah.
And that was there, so.
But the doghouse was not an issue.
So I don't have
We used
that.
to bring in our actual old plans for you to see. Is that what you need from us? I'm so confused as to what you're asking for. I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand.
That's okay. You stated that when you built the home, that it was approved by the town when you built the home, and it's on the plans.
Yes,
But that's not anything I have in front of me.
right, so what I'm asking is, if we come back and resubmit, is it that you need us to bring our plans in, we get those to Sheila for you to review? I'm just trying to understand.
What we would have to do is go through the town's records in comparison to what you have
Sure.
submitted to us. And then the town would have to say, yeah, this is a grandfathered in. I don't know. I'm just saying by way of example, maybe they say, yes, it was given and they're building a like structure. Therefore, it's grandfathered in. Again, I'm not saying that it is, but that,
Can we table this to give you all that information so that they can go back and?
well, not really, because what would be approved on your plans as I read it, and it's quite specific, right? What was approved on your plans would be a 6 foot building by 6 foot building by 8 foot building. What you've requested is a 8 foot building by 8 foot building by 12 high, which means, if you bear with me, which means that, let's say you resubmit it and you say you'll reduce the size to 6 by 6 by 8, then this application is still invalid because you're asking for an 8 by 8 by 12. And so we have to go exactly with what you told us. And without this information from the town, it's automatically a new application because it differs from this. If you still want to go forward with the 8 by 12, then I can tell you that it would be difficult because it wouldn't necessarily follow the grandfather rule, right? Because you're actually changing the structure that you said you got approved for. And again, I promise you, I'm not doubting what you're saying. It's just we can only go by what's factually put before us.
And the
That's
height,
why the
sure,
this
and the
is
height is not 12, it's only 8. It's
Oh.
it's 6 by 8 by 12 by 8.
8 by 12 in length and width
Yes.
and 6
And
feet high?
8 feet high.
8 feet.
I think 8, yeah.
Okay, then this is just confusing how it's written.
It's a perfect square.
Yeah, that's what I thought. 8 by 8 by 12 feet high, right?
No, it's not, so then 8 by 8 by 8.
Because our fence is 6 feet tall and it's about 2 feet above our fence. And then it fits the actual slab of cement that we have there. And that's why we decided to get that size shed, because it fit the actual cement slab. So when we built our doghouse, he had room to lay like in the front of the doghouse on the slab. If you look at that picture, you'll see there's a slab there.
Okay.
And that's why we said, okay, when we roof the doghouse, we have the slab, we might as well build it to the slab.
Okay.
I just have one question. I'm a little confused on one point, which is the application says, I would like to install an aftermarket removable shed. The way we're talking about this shed has already replaced this doghouse, correct? It's in place?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I wanted to clarify that. And out of curiosity, did you seek HOA approval for this?
We submitted to the HOA for approval. They denied it based on the utility problems.
And you applied for a permit from the town as well?
We asked for variance, and that's where we end up.
We didn't know we needed it because we were removing an existing shed or an existing unit and putting another unit on it. So we were unaware that we needed to get it. And we asked the HOA that, and they were like, no, you just have to submit to us, our architecture committee. So that's what we did. So in that respect, no. But had we known, because I thought we were removing an existing and putting another thing. We're not building something new.
And how many accessory buildings do you currently have on the property, including this one?
0.
Well, wait, we have the garage.
Yeah.
So, because we have 2 garages, one is like on the,
Oh,
it's not attached to the house.
One I understood was connected by a breezeway.
Yeah.
Okay, that's called an accessory building.
Yeah, so that's the other garage
Okay, and then you have another garage that's not connected to the house?
that is connected.
That is, they're both connected to the house.
Well, one is connected by a
Breezeway.
breezeway, yes.
And the other one is at like part of the house structure?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so technically you have one accessory building in addition to this, so you have 2.
so if you call the second garage as an accessory, that's what you're
Since it's attached by a breezeway, that's how it's defined,
Okay.
yeah,
oh, yeah.
okay.
Which also was approved in our plans.
Okay,
Required our HOA to have it in our garage.
okay. Anything else? Ma'am? Okay. Any questions?
So I have a procedural question for the board, which is, if we don't, what is the process of resubmitting for the same variance? Is that allowable?
You can, it generally, if we rule on this one, then it would have to be for something different. Something's changed. Because once you deny this one as it's written, correct me if I'm wrong, then
Yeah.
that would be it. And so,
So I guess where I was going with that is for the property owner, if you chose to consider withdrawing your application at this point to rework this, as opposed to getting, of us voting on the variance and having that denied, that's a choice you could make, not a recommendation, but a choice you could make to resubmit this with the evidence as we're suggesting of these different conditions for us to consider. It's just if it were me, I would maybe consider it just because of the ruling itself. And so it's just something for you to think about.
It's my understanding that y'all need to make a decision tonight on this.
We have to roll.
yeah.
Yeah, you
We
have to
on
rule.
what was submitted. And then if another application gets submitted, it's fine because it's before us now. So
Okay.
we've already engaged it. So.
I got you. Okay. That's what, as a procedure, I wasn't sure how that would work. So the The issue for me is the application of saying you'd like to do this versus it already being in place. That's a bit of a challenge from a procedure. But the other thing I just want to state is that it's often when we hear these situations that people are explaining their situation to us and wanting our opinion on the matter. And in fact, we don't do that as a matter of law. And so, as David said a couple times, we can only weigh the evidence that's put in front of us against the criteria of required questions to be answered. And so I encourage you to read that carefully and go point by point to address those things should you choose to come back, depending on how this ruling votes. But also just being careful about the language of saying wanting to versus already done. And so that's also an important factor to us ruling of saying this isn't done, we're voting on could be done versus already being in place. So it's a bit of a challenge for me.
So if we want, let's just say for sake of argument, any shed we want to put on the property, whether it's bought from Home Depot or we built ourselves, regardless of where it's at on the property, we need to submit to the city, not just our HOA.
You would need to ask for a permit. And if, like, there's regulations, 2 acres and above have this, 5 acres have that, 10 acres have that, on the number of accessory buildings you can have. So it's based on and I can even give you the specific if you haven't got it. I can give you the specific ordinance. It's Exhibit 14A zoning ordinance. So in that one, it actually spells out the number of acres. And in this particular one, it says if you have 2 acres, you have this amount of buildings. Like if you have 1 acre, you have this amount of buildings that you're allowed. Okay. Then, because what we had earlier, the reason this whole zone, and it kind of makes sense. So prior to this, I was on the council and we had all these interesting situations come up as the town grew, right? We got all kinds of accessory buildings, and sometimes the accessory buildings were larger than the homes. And so pretty soon we had this mishmash of sizes, and they may be beautiful, they may not. Everyone has different opinions.
Yes.
But what happened was we just had all these buildings coming into neighborhoods, and pretty soon we had so many accessory buildings that people started kind of cocking their head going, do we really want, you guys live in an HOA, that's pretty controlled, right? I mean, you guys, beautiful neighborhood, but there's a reason that you have that, right? Because there's certain limitations. Well, what our residents told the planning and zoning board was, we got to tighten this up because we have now accessory buildings that are like homes, right? So they tightened up the ordinance and did that. So that's the number one place to go. And you could easily just say, hey, I'm going to buy something from Home Depot or Lowe's and I want to put it in there, but you got to come to the town and ask for a permit to build it because we don't want people just popping these things up all over, right? So then if Sheila's the one that approves it and she's got tons of knowledge on all of our ordinances because she sits in on all these meetings all the time. So if she listens to it and she says, okay, so you have this amount of acreage, you want to build a building this size, she can immediately give you some feedback on, looks like we're going to be able to do this, or it doesn't work, right? We all know that we can't go across the spray heads, right, or for septic, but spray heads can be moved, right? There are some that you can do it. It's an expense, but you can do it in some cases. I'm not saying in all cases, I'm just speaking generally, okay? And so if we can do it, then she has the permit person look at the approval, and then it goes from there and you never talk to us. If it comes up against, let's say that you put a third building on it, on an acre or what have you, let's just call it an acre for argument's sake. If you try to put on more buildings on what the zoning ordinance requires and you say you have a hardship, then you would come to us and you would make one of these applications, and then all 4 of these would have to be satisfied, okay? And our job is to say, okay, so what we're doing is we have the authority to say, you know what, in this case, like the ordinance, there truly is an exception and it doesn't apply. We just can't apply it to this property because maybe their land is greatly sloped and there's some flooding issue or something that just doesn't apply to the property. That would be an exception that we would say, you know what, town of Copper Canyon, I get it. And we all live here, right? So we're trying to protect the town as well as our citizens. Then we would say, okay, in this case, yeah, we feel that the town needs to make an exception in this case. But we have to be convinced that there is truly an exception, okay? So Neighbors' input is good, but it's not the only thing. We've had some neighbors come in and just, absolutely not, or they're absolutely for it. And, so it's good input. We know what the neighbors are thinking, but it's not the final word. So Catherine has great standing with us. I mean, she's ex-board of director or board of adjustments. She's on the board with your HOA. So I know her. I've worked with her for many years, but I promise you, make a decision solely based on one input.
You're going by the rules.
Yeah, so it's like you have your HOA rules and then you have your town rules, right? And so that's all we're trying to do is balance it. So with what's been presented in front of us, what we do is I'll ask a first set of questions, then I'll go member by member, they'll ask questions, and then we'll discuss it. And there would be no more input after that point. So we just want to get things clarified with you guys. But I think going forward, if you decide to reapply, if this is turned down, I don't know yet where the vote is because we haven't taken it, but it requires a unanimous with all four of us. If you decide to reapply, I would suggest putting in a plat, giving us a plat that's a legal document that we can look at. If you have, and this is the other thing that I think is hurting in this particular case, just speaking on my own opinion, when you cite that there are other properties in your neighborhood, I believe you, right? There are other properties. If they've been given an exception and it was a board of adjustment exception, the other thing to consider is it's not like once we decide to give somebody a variance, everybody else gets one, right? It's unique to every single property. So what we do is we'll just say, okay, so there are others that have been granted this, and we kind of weigh that in and say, is there truly a hardship here that we can weigh in on, that we can help out with? Let's see, have I exhausted everything? I think I have. Do you have any questions on that process? So I would say neighbors would be helpful. It just gives us more input that others have been given an exception by whom? By the town. Was it years ago when the ordinance didn't exist? Was it current? I don't know, but that would be helpful.
You have them write a statement.
A plat? No, she can look it up in the records because we have all your records, right? All the building permits, and we have that.
You should have.
Yeah.
And then I sent you the others.
And then, so we could look that up, but for tonight, unfortunately, I don't have that in front of us. They don't have it in front of us, so we can't include it. And then the other thing is I would encourage, again, if it's turned down, when you apply for this, I would take a look at each one of these points and I would make sure, because when you say the location of the septic tanks, and then it's the sprayers, well, sprayers can be moved. And then maybe what you do is to say, we had the septic guy and here's his statement. His statement is he came out to the property. He says there's no way legally we can move our sprayer heads. Therefore, it may be something credible for a hardship, right? Because we have an authorized licensed dealer or installer saying can't do it, right? But we don't have that. So, and then the other thing is on the last two, when you state that it's an opinion, that it doesn't conflict. For example, if like the one that says, if the variance is granted, it will not be materially detrimental to public welfare, injure the use of enjoyment. So as you cited, there's things around the world that just happen. And let's say we have, God forbid, a tornado or something rip through this town, or you have the pipe in the main water line in front of my house. I've lived here 25 years, has broken twice, maybe 3 times, but I know for sure twice, right? Just water gushing. It happens. So when that happens and it's in the easement, I have to grant them access. And you say you can move the building, but if that thing's gushing water and they can't get to it, that may fall into this thing where it's causing public harm because nobody can get water in your neighborhood because the pipe's broken and it happens to be right underneath your building, as an example. It's just an example.
Sure, but then we have 2 feet away, we have a stone and brick fence.
That's why we like 15 feet to give us a little access.
But then
Let's see, I don't know the fence that you're talking about because
Our fence.
our property fence.
your community fence, I doubt it because the community fence probably is outside of your property line. It's probably, there's a street, I don't know, I'm just saying, normally there's a street, there's a community property with the fence, then your property line starts somewhere inside that fence, right? So you wouldn't own the property that fence is on for the community fence, technically. I mean, generally.
Our
it's not.
property is on the border of the road of Jennigans. The community doesn't own anything.
The only other thing could be when you signed your papers that you allowed that easement for them to build that fence. That's the other thing. Again, I don't know, but generally that when you sign something and there's something across the easement, you say, I'm aware of this and I grant that.
Yeah,
You grant
but
that.
if we're talking about hardship and so the fence is going to be an obstacle, we need to remove the fence before we get to the shed.
It's the existing 15 feet from the property line, so we start from there. And so we have to say what is within the 15 feet from the property line, the remaining property, what is being considered. Okay?
I would just add, in a more simple way, no offense, but the easement piece of it has to be addressed somehow.
Yeah.
Not with opinion, with you know, is it an electrical easement? I don't know. You know, a statement from, we work off information you give us to check off these boxes. It's not something that,
So where do we find out from the city what they have in that easement area? We have to come to you.
You would have to get the utility itself to grant you that variance.
So we
I mean, to endorse it more or less, right? The utility company itself who has those lines. Anyway, it might be electrical, it might be water. I don't know.
So we call 411 and they will.
Do you have any suggestions?
I suggest let's talk tomorrow.
Okay.
If you look at the CAD, I pulled up the plat, the final plat for
I
the
could not get
entire,
that today. Did you get it today?
it shows as a utility easement.
Yeah, so utility, it doesn't really matter who, it's generally any utility can go
Could
in
be
there.
water,
It's-
gas, could be.
So, yeah, I mean, right now, it could be one, it could be electrical, but that doesn't mean that a water company can't come in and say, we need to reroute a line because of some neighborhood that's being built or something, right?
Yeah, and I will tell you, I have a 25-foot easement on the back of my property. I live up along Copper Canyon Road. And Upper Trinity, which provides water to the entire town of Copper Canyon, came in last year and basically dug up the entire 25-foot behind my house. They destroyed it all, got rid of all my trees, got rid of the fence, and then once they put that water pipe back in and re-leveled it, they put it all back together, except for the trees, you know, and the grass and the shrubs, and that was on me. So you kind of have to be prepared if you decide to put something on an easement,
Yeah.
because you'd say the shed is removable, but
It
it
is.
doesn't have wheels. So that.
And that's the difficulty if we run
All
into.
what we have to do is just empty it and then 4 guys will remove it. It's not that
But
heavy.
that slab is going to have to be removed.
So
So
there's two, just so that we can pull it back, there's two things that there's a variance on, right? One is being within the easement, the utility easement. The other one is being and that's the one we're talking about tonight. We're not talking about the utility easement because that's separate. That's not on your application, but just so that would be the second thing. So even if we pass it tonight, guess what? You got one more hurdle, right? So unless there was some sort of grandfathering, which again, I don't have record of. But again, the second one would be encroaching on the 15-foot town limit. That's the variance we're considering tonight. Okay, so based on that, are there, Gary, were you done?
Yeah, I got my question.
Paul, did you have questions?
it's addressed.
Did you have anything? Okay. So with that, and any final statements from the couple? No? Okay. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. And we're going to close the hearing at 53 minutes past the hour. Okay, we'll move on to action and discussion item. This would be the board's discussion at this point. Discuss, consider, and take action regarding the request of Nasser Safa, owner of real property located at 4501 Mahogany Lane, described as Estates of Copper Canyon, Block A, Lot 19, Town of Copper Canyon, Denton County, Texas, for a variance from the Town of Copper Canyon zoning regulations, Article 4, Section 4-104, parentheses F, parentheses 8. The request for is for a variance from the accessory building minimum rear yard setback. The ordinance calls for a 15-foot rear yard setback. The landowner is requesting a 2-foot rear yard setback. Discussion.
From my point of view, we haven't received evidence that hits the 4 criterion that we have to consider in this case. Some of the information has been alluded to that it exists, but it's not in front of us. And for that reason, I don't think we can pass this. That's my opinion.
Okay. Victoria, sorry. I know.
I kind of agree. These 4 items, none of this is answered. And I understand about having the septic field. I mean, I have a huge septic field. Now mine is not a spray head. But my thing is, and I get there's a pool and all that. I drove by the property today, and so I know that there's some other structures and areas in the back, but I don't know if maybe there's not another area that doesn't butt up to that back brick fence that would be more appropriate, which would allow them to keep the size they have. I've been on the ACC committee before in other communities, and a lot of times that's kind of what they look at, can you move it somewhere else? We haven't been told that there's absolutely no other place in this property. I get there's 4 zones that can't be used, and based on the CCNRs, it shows that you can't have it up along the entrance, Mahogany Lane, as you go in.
So by way of the CCRs, just to, we can only consider the town ordinance.
No, and I get that they put it there because their CCNR say they can't have it up along the fence in the entrance, and I get that. But can it be put up closer to the house? I saw that there's a pergola area. It looks like there's a pool. And is there a different place where it can be placed that isn't encroaching within that 15-foot?
Okay.
So
you would go
I would deny this.
deny too. And did you?
Yeah, we just don't have enough evidence to consider the variance, because the variance, as we've said before, is a permanent decision on the property. It lasts for as long as the property exists. And so we need to do that with the right considerations and evidence in place, whether it's the hardship or if it's the other aspects. We just don't have enough on the 4 statements to rule for it, unfortunately. That's my view.
So your vote would be deny.
On basis of what we have, yeah, I might have to vote to deny.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote on this just to be sure, but it gives an indication. So summarizing from what the board is saying, I think that we've had good discussion here today. I think there's some follow-up items with the town secretary that may be viable for you to pursue. Based on this, again, I would just encourage that if you decide to reapply, I'm voting no too, but as you know, you had to have all 4 of us. Definitely reread this and double check and make sure that it supports your case, and anything that you have that licensed people, the sewage or septic person, something like that, that can bolster your case is helpful in this particular case. And also, when I was talking about CCRs, we as a board don't have any influence, nor can we rule on CCRs. It's an input that we have, but technically we have to only look at it from the town's perspective. And from the town's perspective, I would say that the application is written, we've given some suggestions. The fact that it says that it's to be installed, but it was installed, the fact that the height of the existing building or the previous building compared to this one is varying, and we don't have any of the supporting documentation for the neighborhood by way of other properties that may be similar or any other leeway that's been given. So based on that, I would deny it as well. So very quickly, going, Victoria, you are a no, correct?
Yes, no.
Paul?
Can you make a motion?
Motion the wording on this one is always the one I stumble, to deny the variance request as written. And Victoria, your vote would be, oh, sorry, I'm sorry, is there a motion?
I second that motion. Do you want the motion?
I can't make the motion.
Okay, I thought you did that. Yeah, I move to vote on denial of the variance request.
Motion from Gary Coleman to deny the variance request is written. Do I have a second?
Second.
And now we'll do roll call. Sheila, you want a roll call on this one? Victoria?
Deny.
Paul? Gary?
Deny.
And I'm a deny, so it's unanimous vote. All right, and so with that, we wish you the best, and thank you very much for your patience, and yes, sir, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Yep, bear with me.
And I have one more thing. I need to formally submit what was in the packet, which was the application and also the minutes as part of the tonight's evidence. So that's just a formality.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, we could stay here all night. A motion by Paul Dietz to adjourn the meeting. Second by Gary Coleman. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those in deny.
We want to stay.
Meeting's closed at 8 o'clock exactly.
How small